Freddie's homer. Where does it rank among your baseball moments that you've been a part of?
Greatest moment I've ever been a part of.
Even better than your base?
Even
I guess your base was kind of in the midst of a game.
In the midst of a game. And then it took David Ortiz to hit a walk-off for my game to matter, right? That right there was a deciding World Series game, set the tone for 2024. Yankees at Dodger Stadium. Down. Freddie hits a walk-off.
I mean, first pitch, dude.
First pitch.
And Booney, like, I got walked. And honestly, I thought that was probably the right move.
It was the right move.
Now, I wholeheartedly understood if he let that happen. I get it. But I think in the flow of the game, I think that's probably the right move.
And that's the thing, is that in the flow of the game, that's the hard part about, there's matchups, there's the flow of the game, there's who you're willing to fail with, or who you're willing to beat you. All those things matter, especially when you're talking about the postseason. And that's something for me I've had a lot of resolve with the experiences, successes, some failures, and that's what I've come to. And again, things sometimes work out. He could have popped up like Shohei popped up, but he didn't, and that right there is the best baseball moment I've ever been a part of.
You got San Diego, and they really kicked their ass all year.
All year.
So how were you feeling about it from your perspective?
I felt from my perspective that was the World Series. I felt that at that moment in time, when we started the postseason, they were 1 through 26 the best team.
100%.
And when you play a team as much as we played those guys, the novelty, the awe factor, that was all gone. They were no longer afraid of us. We're familiar. They beat us up in the regular season, so they were hungry. They hadn't won a championship, so I felt that was going to be our biggest challenge, especially in a short series. And so when we got down 2-1,
and we had already gotten put out the last 2 years, so that was already way.
That's right. That was already a burden that we had to deal with. And so for me, that was the World Series. And so out of a lot of my angst and nerves were into that series.
And then down 2-1, like you said, I mean, in my head, I want to hear from your perspective, but from my perspective, it seemed like a regular day in July. Like there was no panic. You were still being yourself. The guys were still laughing, hanging out. But everybody was in intense, making sure they take care of their business. But I didn't feel any panic going on around the clubhouse, and I feel like that played a part. But I did feel intensity. But I want to hear from your perspective what you felt.
I think that I agree. I did feel the focus. There wasn't panic, certainly. I think that when we went in there 2 years ago, I think that there was a little bit of, we were overwhelmed by the environment. I think that it was mayhem. It was crazy down there. It was loud. And they fed off of that, as most teams feed off the home crowd. I just felt, talked about it, we were ready to brawl. And we were going to find a way to win that game. And we did. And I just think that they're kind of...
And that was a bullpen game.
It was a bullpen game. And I just think that the way they go about things is a street fight, and they try to intimidate. And we were up for the challenge. And we took their best shot and counterpunched. And we got big hits, big performances. And I just think from that point on, Mook, the confidence in you, your teammates, the organization, the fans, just continued to grow. And then once we got to Game 5 and we took that lead, I just felt that those guys had no answer for us.
Yeah, that.
Here now the totals for tonight's game. Set 2 runs, 5 hits, and no errors. As the Dodgers lead in game 3 and 4 of the NLDS.
Down 5-0 there, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go back to LA. If we have to, cool, but like we got to figure out something. And you managed that game differently, and so
I did, Mook, and because I have been on the other side of it, and when you're down 3-0, you're at the point where you have nothing to lose now. It doesn't matter who was favored, who wasn't. When you're down 3-0, everyone is expecting you to lose anyway. So now, that for me, it's freeing. And so they played free, won Game 4. And I will tell you this now publicly, I was so afraid to come back to Los Angeles for Game 6, knowing we still had Yamamoto in our back pocket. But the point being is that if we were to come back, the noise, the pressure becomes real. Because then you're going to start potentially being part of history in the wrong way, a team that gave up a 3-0, because it's never been done in the World Series. We did it in the ALCS, the Yankees versus the Red Sox. And so for me, that was the fear of going back. So to your point, yes, I managed with urgency. Even when we were down 5-0, I didn't know how we were going to finish this dang.
Final totals for Los Angeles: 7 runs, 7 hits, no errors, 7-7 and 0. For New York, 6 runs, 8 hits, 3 errors, 6-8 and 3. Left on base for Los Angeles: 10. For New York, 12. The winning pitcher is Trinan, 2-0. The losing pitcher Canely, 0-1. There is a save for Buehler, number 1. At the time of the game, 3 hours, 42 minutes, 3-4-2.